Well, breaking news this morning coming out of Rogers, where police say a person was injured and several others were involved in a shooting.
Yeah, several officers involved in this. Let's go out live to 5 News reporter Claire Everbach. She's on the scene trying to gather some details for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Tiffany. Well, Rogers police aren't releasing a lot of information about this shooting right now. We do know that one person was injured and that it happened in this neighborhood right behind me. We did drive through the neighborhood and there's no sense of police presence. It's pretty quiet. According to Rogers police, it unfolded at the intersection of Southpointe Avenue and Southeast Street yesterday. We don't know exactly what time. Officers and EMS treated the person injured on scene before they were taken to a hospital. Their condition is unknown at this hour, but we do know that no officers were injured. Arkansas State Police has taken over this investigation. We're working to learn more from investigators right now, and we'll bring you those details right here on 5 News as we get them. Live in Rogers, covering news where you live, Claire Everbach, 5 News.
All right. Thanks so much for that, Claire. We'll keep you updated throughout the show here on 5 News this morning. Well, good morning. Thanks for waking up with us. It is 6:30. We're off to a great start on this Thursday, which Tiffany calls
Friday Eve. It's also Seize the Day Day.
Carpe diem, y'all.
Yeah.
Make the most out of it.
Yeah, Danny's giving you some perfect weather for today to seize the day.
I was going to say, no excuses, especially later this afternoon. Highs are going to be in the 70s. We're going to have not too bad of a wind. So, as I say, no excuses because it is going to be gorgeous out today. We'll show you what's going on right now because right now it's still pretty nice. There's a little bit of cloud cover, though, in some areas, just like we've seen the previous few mornings, and maybe a little bit of a drizzle or a mist, but that's really about it. You can see any substantial rainfall, if you want to call it that, moved through earlier this morning in northwest Arkansas. So, again, overall this morning, temperatures in the 40s and low 50s as you're heading out the door, and just going to be a pretty quiet day, especially because after this morning, that drizzle and mist will lift. And we'll see a little bit of a breeze later this afternoon, only about 5 to 15, but we're going to keep that light wind for much of the day today and especially overnight tonight. And then for tomorrow, we'll keep those light winds, so very quiet conditions for today and really for the rest of the month. So if heading off to the bus stop, we'll see temperatures in the 40s, a mostly cloudy sky with, again, maybe that drizzle or mist, but no any substantial rainfall. By recess or lunchtime, we'll see clearing skies, temperatures in the 60s, and then by this afternoon, very spring-like temperatures in the 70s, and overall a gorgeous day. You can even see the skies opening up right now. So we could see some record highs come up on Saturday. So the end of February is going to be a warm one, and then we'll start off March right away with the chance of rain, and it looks like we'll have numerous chances of rain to start the month of March. So talk more about that and get you ready for the weekend coming up in your full forecast. For now, I'll give you a live look at traffic on this Thursday morning. Take a live look in Fort Smith along I-540 at the Rogers Avenue exit. Like you're seeing here, it's just maybe a little bit of a mist or drizzle out there. Overall, though, going to be a pretty quiet commute. We'll have your full forecast coming up in about 15 minutes. Joe and Tiffany.
Thanks for that, Danny. One of our top stories this morning, Cuba says it killed 4 people on a speedboat from Florida, alleging they were trying to carry out terrorism on Cuba.
Cuba's government says the occupants opened fire. Jared Hill has some more.
An intense scene in the Caribbean Wednesday. Cuba says its border guard troops approached a U.S. speedboat carrying 10 people about a mile off the north coast of the island. Cuban officials say they asked for identification, and the people on the boat started shooting, injuring a Cuban commander. Cuban troops fired back, killing at least 4 people. The other 6 injured, arrested, and taken to a hospital in Cuba for treatment. Cuban officials now say the people on the Florida-registered speedboat were Cuban nationals living in the U.S. and that some had violent criminal records. Cuban authorities say they found rifles, handguns, Molotov cocktails, bulletproof vests, and camo uniforms on the boat. They say the group was planning to carry out terrorism on the island, and that another person arrested in Cuba confessed that he was sent from the U.S. to receive the so-called infiltrators.
It is highly unusual to see shootouts in open sea like that.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says multiple federal agencies, including the U.S. Coast Guard and the U.S. Embassy in Havana, are investigating and working to verify the identity of those on board.
We're going to find out exactly what happened here, and then we'll respond accordingly.
The attack comes as tensions between the U.S. and Cuba have been increasing. The Trump administration slapped new tariffs on the island and cut off its oil shipments from Venezuela, following the capture of former Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. Jared Hill, CBS News.
Well, Cuban authorities have identified the 6 survivors and one of the deceased. They are working now to identify the other 3 people killed.
President Trump's Surgeon General was pressed on Capitol Hill by lawmakers about vaccines and other established medical practices. Dr. Casey Means is a wellness influencer with no government experience and no active medical license, and faced sharp questions about her qualifications to serve as the country's next Surgeon General.
Do you believe that there's no evidence that the flu vaccine has efficacy in reducing serious injury or hospitalization? This is an easy one, doctor.
I support the CDC's guidance on the flu vaccine.
Well, Means has been a supporter of HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and the Make America Healthy Again agenda. The Surgeon General does not make policy, but as the nation's top doctor, they can influence Americans to change habits like smoking or using social media.
Well, 15 states are suing the Trump administration over revisions to the childhood vaccine schedule. The lawsuit argues it illegally changed the recommendation status for several vaccines. The plaintiffs allege the changes violated a requirement that mandates the CDC Advisory Committee on immunization practices be fairly balanced. The lawsuit and many experts argue the new schedule could harm the health of children. However, President Trump says it's more reasonable and better aligned with some other countries. And new tips have been pouring in all this week in the search for Nancy Guthrie.
Authorities believe the 84-year-old was abducted from her home hours after she was last seen on January 31st. Her daughter, Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie, posted this video announcing an increased reward of up to $1 million. A flurry of activity this week at Nancy Guthrie's residence has people wondering what police know.
You know, this could be routine. I wouldn't read into this action being a reaction to any of the tips from last night.
The increased reward this week led to hundreds of new leads. Well, Arkansas State Police are investigating after the death of a Washington County inmate who stopped breathing while being released from jail for hospice care.
Yeah, the family tells us here in 5 News that they were fighting for James Gore to be moved to hospice after he was jailed on several felony charges. Now, he was diagnosed with glioblastoma. In 2025, he had surgery to remove a tumor. He was arrested earlier this month for allegedly stabbing his wife and an at-home healthcare worker. Family and friends say Gore's condition impacted his judgment.
But he was never aggressive.
Never. To that extent.
He might be words, but he was never, ever aggressive to...
No, he was stern and opinionated, but he wasn't violent or mean.
He was never violent.
No, he wasn't about being violent.
Well, Deputy Prosecutor Dennis Dean says they had concerns about releasing Gore to the public, citing risks to safety. Now, despite his cognitive state, Dean added that Gore was denied admittance to a lockdown facility, and because of that, he was kept in jail.
The position was that he posed a threat to the safety of others, and that although there definitely were some mental health or health issues that could have precipitated this crime, his behavior still could not be controlled.
Now, Arkansas State Police began their investigation. We have requested files in regards to the circumstances surrounding Gore's death. We'll keep you updated as we learn more.